Thank you for joining me today. Unafraid, Reister or Wrong, George Reister here. First of all, it is going to be the greatest Unafraid show of all time today. We bringing it. We got some great things up for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoy it. What we have up for you guys today is the NFL Network. There's an employee, a wardrobe person, who alleges sexual harassment against former executive, current and former talent, including Marshall Faulk, Warren Sapp, Donovan McNabb, Ike Taylor, Heath Evans, and Eric Wernberger, who now works for Bill Simmons over at The Ringer. USC, they need to welcome back Reggie Bush. The fact that he's one of the best college football players ever and is not welcome at USC is completely wrong. And also, the Pac-12 is $1 billion in the hole. It's $1 billion behind the SEC and the Big Ten network when it comes to generating dollars. That's the truth over the next 7 years. So that's what we got on track for you guys today. Swipe up. Make sure you like the feed, share the feed now. Share it now. Quick hitter for today, though. The Rockets. The Rockets have won 10 games in a row. Fans say the Rockets have won 10 games in a row. Can they win a championship? My answer to that is James Harden still on the team? Is he still a poor defender? Then no, they can't win. They can win all the regular season games they want. The Rockets are not a championship caliber team simply because their best player is a horrible defender. Can't win without defense in the NBA in the playoffs. So where we're going to start today is Marshall Faulk, Ike Taylor, Heath Evans, Eric Wernberger, Warren Sapp, all these guys with the NFL Network. This is a major deal in the world of sports with them being suspended for allegedly sexually harassing a wardrobe person. This is huge. I know they're innocent until proven guilty, but this looks really, really bad. But you knew this was coming, though. You knew this was coming. Not necessarily with those guys, but you knew some allegations were coming in the world of sports. It's already happened in entertainment, from Harvey Weinstein all the way down to agents, directors, everybody. It's happened in mega companies. It's happened in the news. Fox News has had them all over the place. CBS, Matt Lauer on NBC. Like, sports was on deck. Like, you knew that sports was coming up next. You knew it was. Like, the president has even been accused of this. He hasn't been suspended, but he's been accused of this. Roy Moore, who may get voted in Alabama, has been accused of this. And the question is, though, is like, who makes this stuff up? Like, I know that there are a lot of people who want to doubt these women, but who makes this up? Who makes this up? And a lot of times they have proof. Like, when you look at the allegations that she made against these people, because they put up she filed an amended complaint on Monday, which goes into detail about her. So she filed a suit for wrongful termination. Her name is Jamie Cantor. She filed a suit for wrongful termination from the NFL Network. And then, but here's what she alleges about some of these guys. She says that Wernberger, who now works for The Ringer and Bill Simmons, said that he told her, he asked her to join him in an office bathroom, saying he was super horny, sending her text reading, watching you down the hallway makes me crazy. Your ass drives me insane. And that Heath Evans, he propositioned her multiple times and made lewd gestures, saying he make me horny, I need to get in you deep and hard. Marshall Faulk pulled out and was stroking himself in front of her. When are you going to get on this already? I mean, like, this is like bad. Somebody else, Ike Taylor, he said, sent her nude pictures. Warren Sapp walked in the bathroom with her. All these things. And McNabb sending her messages. Why don't you come over after work? CUM. I mean, come on, man. Like, who makes this up? I don't think that this lady is making this stuff up simply because the allegations, I mean, there's clearly text messages that she has that show that this stuff is true. And it's pretty amazing to me that we go initially to doubt this. But my biggest question is, which I asked my wife about, I said, how does this continuously happen and nobody speaks out about it? Like, nobody says anything about it. Like, how? So I get that women are upset and people are upset when they say, oh, how can they get mad at people when people ask the simple question, like, how can this continuously happen? Like, how does nobody speak out about it? Well, apparently, because they're shamed, nobody does anything about it. Because this lady went to the company and then she ends up fired. Like, that's the crazy part to me. And I always wonder for these dudes, whether it's Matt Lauer, whether it's Donovan McNabb, Ike Taylor, or any of these guys who just got accused of this and get suspended or fired. How do you go home and tell your wife that? Like, if you had this nice job at the NFL Network and then somebody accuses you of sexual harassment and they have proof, how do you go home and tell your wife that? How? I mean, I can't even fathom that, because that's not a conversation that's going to go over very well at all. But here's the problem. Here's the problem I see with this whole thing, is that you can't fire everybody. I mean, I know everybody wants their pound of flesh when things go wrong, when people behave badly. But the question is that, like, can you really fire everybody who's done this ever before in their life? And then the second part of the question is if you do fire them, how long should they not be gainfully employed? We're talking about the NFL Network having Warren Sapp, Donovan McNabb, Ike Taylor, Heath Evans, Eric Wernberger suspended for sexual harassment claims against one woman, all with one woman. I mean, in addition to how you tell your wife that, but can you fire everybody in a company who's ever done this? And how long should they not be gainfully employed? Because it's kind of like when you go to, like, if somebody commits a crime and they go to jail, like, there's a definite sentence to that. Like, there's a finite amount of time that they're supposed to be in jail. How long is the jail for sexual harassment? Like, I'm not the one to judge this, but how long is it? Because if you don't allow people to be gainfully employed, they turn to crime. I mean, that's what typically happens out in life. You aren't able to make money. You have to feed your family. You have to make money. You have to find a way to do it. And if nobody will employ you, or nobody will work with you if you're an entrepreneur, how do you then make money? So that's the thing that's my biggest question in this whole, in the sexually harassed Me Too world, is I believe that there has to be like a retraining of behavior. The behavior is wrong. However, it's so ingrained in our culture that you have to retrain the thinking. Because if you look at, because I say the same thing about whether you're racist, sexist, any of this stuff. Just throwing racists out of society and ostracizing them and casting them out, that does not solve your problem. They're still racist. They're just not employed racists. You have to educate them, help them change their thinking. Maybe they don't need to be in leadership positions and all of this stuff. I'm agreeing with that. Okay, that's a legit question. Should McNabb be fired from ESPN since it happened at NFL Network or just suspended? I mean, damn, like, that's a complicated question. Because if you're ESPN, he didn't do it at ESPN. But I don't know. I mean, I guess publicly, they have to do something. They can't just sit around and do nothing if you're ESPN with all the black eyes that you've taken in the last year. ESPN has to do something. But the question is, will they suspend him? Being that they have not, the only thing that they'll have to go on is what was filed in court. That's a damn good question. That is a damn good question. That brings up women trainers in the locker rooms. So when I was a player, toward the end of my career, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers were the first and only team to have a female on their full-time training staff. Like the trainers, the people that work with the doctors, people that massage you, ultrasound you, stretch you out, tape you up, all that. There were some women who worked in camp, but not full-time in the NFL. And that led me to thinking with this whole, like, I know that this was the fear with it. This was the fear with having full-time women trainers, is that you have men around, especially during training camp, because you're away from your family. It's less now because of the way training camps are set up now, but guys used to be away from their family for a whole month, and then you get those camp eyes. What camp eyes is that dudes will be like, oh man, I haven't seen a woman in a while. I got them camp eyes, man. I need to get some. I need to see what's up. And any girl, despite how cute that you might have ordinarily thought that she was, like, you go, ooh, wow, she's kind of sexy. She's kind of sexy. Let me see what's up with her. That's what camp eyes is. And so you can run the risk of some bad things happening and getting into these situations. So that's what the NFL was trying to hedge itself away from. But I would say that there's an element of this that men just have to behave better. Like, you can't just teach your kids, oh, well, there's a woman in the training room, we just make comments and this and that. No, you have to behave better. That's the truth. You just do. And I don't understand, like, for Donovan McNabb, Heath Evans, Ike Taylor, these guys who were accused of sending naked photos to an unsolicited woman. I mean, that were unsolicited. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand it. And then clearly, like, whipping it out in front of somebody who didn't ask to see it doesn't make sense to me either. I don't understand. I will tell you, once I was in Vegas and I was drunk. I had a long night out, ordered some room service. And then I decided in all my glory, I was like, listen, I'm going to open this door naked. I am, because I don't feel like putting any clothes on. Last minute, chickened out, grabbed the towel. I mean, as far as I went. I mean, I just don't understand it. The next thing up, Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush should be back at USC. You guys swipe up, share the feed. Reggie Bush should be back at USC. He has not been welcomed back. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He is, I mean, he should have that big giant number 5 back in the Rose Bowl. I'm sorry, in the Coliseum. And USC needs to welcome him back. And explain to me why. I tweeted this out yesterday. Explain to me why it's okay for all these coaches to leave programs and have all these scandals and then go live happily ever after, but Reggie Bush is not welcome back at USC. Explain to me how that makes sense. How? On what earth does that make sense? That Reggie Bush is not welcome back, but these coaches are. Because they took his Heisman away. The school had to disassociate with him. I mean, this literally went down that they removed their jersey from his jersey from a display case, gave the Heisman back, and they've even gone so far as to put an asterisk next to stuff in the media guide about Reggie Bush. I've never understood vacated wins, because the NCAA, when they come down with an iron fist, they're like, oh, you have to vacate wins. Nothing changed on the field. Like, it's not like Reggie Bush was too old, too young. I mean, like, he was a player who was playing with the specific set of skills he was given. They won the games fair and square. Now you're upset. You can't vacate wins. I saw them happen. I saw Reggie Bush win the Heisman. I saw them beat Oklahoma in the national championship in the Rose Bowl. I was in attendance. I saw those things happen. You cannot vacate them. You cannot erase Men in Black, erase them from my brain, because it happened. And I saw Reggie. I can't unsee it. Reggie Bush is probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college football player that I ever saw with my own two eyes. But you got Pete Carroll, who in 2015 received an honorary degree from USC and is in the school's Hall of Fame. So Pete Carroll's in the Hall of Fame at USC, despite presiding over this whole Reggie Bush scandal drama thing. But Reggie Bush is not even welcome on campus. He can't even go to USC games. He actually snuck into one in 2015, though. I like that, Reggie. You know the rules. You're playing by the rules. Because he cannot go to USC games. However, it doesn't break the NCAA rules, because when they played in the Pac-12 championship, Reggie Bush was with San Francisco. And Levi Stadium was his home stadium. So he made it in 2015. Smart move, Reggie Bush. Smart move. But USC's benefited so much from Reggie Bush. There's kids that have gone there and have specifically said, I went there because of Reggie Bush. Look at Ronald Jones. They've benefited from that. So while the school continues to benefit, Reggie Bush is the one left on the sidelines. How does that make sense? Like, there's nowhere on earth that makes sense. I mean, like, they damn near redacted 100 mentions of him in the USC media guide. They made millions off of Bush, and they're still making millions off of Bush. Oh, but he violated the rules. It's a broken system, and he didn't do anything unfair on the field. Nothing unfair. Except, I mean, I guess his God-given ability was unfair, but he himself was fair. He broke the tackles. He wasn't on PEDs. He did it. There's nothing to talk about. The man is a savage. Bring him back to USC. And then here's the Cliff Notes version of what happened with Reggie Bush at USC. They didn't pay USC. I'm sorry, USC didn't pay Reggie Bush. They didn't give his family a home. They didn't buy him a car. No booster or patron gave Bush's family or him any money, allegedly. Lloyd Lake, the person who gave Reggie Bush's family a house and a car, was not a booster or even a USC fan. So why on earth is this going on? I mean, so USC got in trouble for not checking his registration, not checking his family's living arrangements, which I don't know why you would anyway. Pete Carroll running open practices so players could have contact with agents or whatever, even though no such contacts were ever uncovered. The former athletic director, Mike Garrett, failed to increase an undermanned compliance department that only had 2 employees. I mean, come on, man. I mean, like, come on. Like, this is circumstantial evidence against Reggie Bush at best. Circumstantial, but you're going to keep the man away. Like, the players always paid a penalty. Like, even if it's the past players, or whether it's the current players, the players always pay the penalty. The school recovers. The coaches definitely recover. I mean, even Rick Pitino at some point in time is going to recover over at Louisville with all the scandals there. He's going to eventually recover. So don't give me this, the players are so bad. No, the system is broken. That's the problem with this whole Reggie Bush, he needs to be back at USC drama. Because the kids, I mean, who go to USC now, they're not looking at OJ, Marcus Allen, or Charles White, not even Matt Leinart. They're trying to be Reggie Bush. They want to be great. Come on, man. Last thing up for today, though. The Pac-12 is the second poorest of the Power 5 conferences in terms of paying out money and revenue generated. Guess who's number one? Guess who's top dog? The conference that pays their coaches the most money. That's the SEC, with $40 million paid to each school. Big Ten, $34 million, almost 35. The Big 12, which only has 10 members, $28 million to each school. Pac-12, $28 million. And then you have the ACC who paid its schools in 2016. These are 2016 numbers. In between $22 million for Georgia Tech and $27 million to Clemson. So the question is that where does this money come from? Comes from like 4 major buckets for the Pac-12. Postseason football contracts. So with the college football playoff, with the other bowl games you go to, those rights. Tier 1 deals with ESPN. Because you notice Pac-12 games kind of featured on ESPN, particularly the ones in the afternoon and the evening. That's why you have Pac-12 After Dark. The Pac-12 network income, which is not on DirecTV and is killing itself by not being on DirecTV. I mean, there's so many people. I mean, like, you have to borrow people's logins to watch Pac-12 games. I know some people who do that. Won't name names, but I know a couple. And then the last bucket is the March Madness earnings. So schools, they get big money depending on how far their teams go. The Pac-12 had a good run last year. They had, 2 teams in the Elite Eight? UCLA and Oregon? Big deal. And UCLA and Oregon went to the Final Four. Here's the thing, is that when you look at, so Willie Taggart, who's Oregon's coach, just got poached by Florida State. Florida State paid him a good amount of money, but he's not even near the top of the conference in terms of, he kind of is, but he's not at the top of the conference in terms of compensation. That's Dabo Swinney over at Clemson. And why can SEC schools pay their coaches more than Pac-12 schools do? Because Pac-12 schools their coaches are generally on the lower end of the pay scale. Why is that? Revenue generated. Revenue paid out to each school. If there's a $10 million difference between the SEC schools, what they get from their conference, and the Pac-12, what they get from their conference, guess who's going to be able to pay their coaches more money? The SEC. That's how this whole deal works. Look at what Alabama and some of these other schools do for their coaches. Alabama pays Nick Saban, $9-11 million. They bought Saban's house. Nick Saban bought his house first in Alabama for $2 or $3 million. Then the boosters, after he won a national championship, turned around and bought it from him for a higher price than he bought it, and then lets him live in it and pay the property taxes on it, and then he collects his salary on top of that. I mean, because your mortgage is your biggest bill by far. Your mortgage is your biggest bill, or your rent is your biggest bill that you're going to have. unless you're one of these wackos who drives a car that's more expensive than where they live, which is foolishness. Yeah. So that's how this works. Yeah, so the Pac-12 is at a significant disadvantage because if you look at over 7 years, right? If you look at the $12 million that they're falling short of the SEC and the Big Ten, that is $12 million times 12 teams times over the next 7 years. That's $1 billion. That's $1 billion. Do you realize like how much money that is? That's money to pay players, which they're not going to do. That's money for facilities, money for coaches, money for all this stuff. $1 billion the Pac-12 is not going to generate. Well, it's not going to generate as much as the SEC and the Big Ten over the next 7 years. $1 billion. But you expect the Pac-12 to compete on the same level. Doesn't work that way. Got to bring in the cash. Got to bring in the dough if you want to do that. So, you guys, we've covered today. Pac-12 is poor compared to the other conferences. You have Reggie Bush should be back at USC. And the last thing is the NFL Network is facing Me Too allegations. Like, you can't sit up here and act like that this was not going to happen in sports because you knew it was coming. Sports was up next because everybody else has been hit so far. Every other industry. And expect more of them to come. Like, this isn't going anywhere because this is too far ingrained in our culture. And until we switch up how we look at it and how we view it and how we handle it, nothing's going to change. As long as the president is not held accountable, nobody else will be held accountable on that level as well. Or actually, the private citizens are always held more accountable than the president himself. All right, you guys, thank you guys for joining me today. Unafraid, right or wrong, and shout out to all the firemen out here in LA and have come from other states to put out these fires. You guys are much appreciated. Much love. Thank you.